Valar Morghulis. What if Rhaegar killed Robert Baratheon at the Trident? Let us see how events unfold when the dragon bests the stag. The wide waters of the Trident roiled with the churn of hooves and the crash of steel. On one bank stood the rebel armies, banners of the stag, wolf and falcon snapping in the cold air. Opposite them ranged the Targaryen loyalists, spears gleaming, dragon standards streaming. In the river's shallows, two champions met, Robert Baratheon, the demon of the Trident, and Rhaegar Targaryen, the dragon prince. Sunlight caught the rubies on Rhaegar's breastplate, a scattered constellation of red along the silver breast. Robert, broad-shouldered and ferocious, swung his heavy warhammer as though it weighed nothing. Sparks flew each time hammer struck sword. Both men were wounded already, arms streaked red. The rebels watched with bated breath. The loyalists stirred anxiously, awaiting a final blow. In the known canon, Robert's last strike pulped Rhaegar's armor, scattering rubies across the shallows. But here, fate turns. Robert lunged, hammer crashing forward, yet the blow missed by a breath, unbalancing him. Rhaegar seized the instant, driving his blade into Robert's chest. A strangled gasp escaped the stag. He sank into the bloodied water, Lyanna Stark's name a final whisper on his lips. Where men once spoke of ruby-strewn currents, they now saw a fallen rebel champion. The rebellion's beating heart had stopped.
Seven, forgive me. It had to end.
Word of Robert's death shot through the rebel ranks like an arrow through cloth. Men who had marched behind his indomitable spirit now felt that spirit vanish. Eddard Stark and Jon Arryn fought to keep the lines intact, but despair crushed morale. Hundreds threw down their weapons or fled. Others, stunned, stood paralyzed. On the eastern flank, Walder Frey arrived late, as he always did, an opportunist sniffing for advantage. Seeing the Targaryens victorious, he bent his knee to King Aerys II's cause at once, proclaiming loyalty that he had withheld until the battle was decided. It was vintage Walder Frey, tardy, cunning, and ever poised to pick the winning side.
Robert is gone. The rebellion is lost.
I must find Lyanna. That is all that matters now.
News of Rhaegar's triumph spread faster than wildfire. Tywin Lannister, ever watchful, had been poised outside King's Landing with a grand host, hoping to exploit chaos. In the original timeline, Tywin feigned friendship, only to sack the city once he learned Rhaegar was slain. But now, the Dragon Prince remained very much alive, victorious no less, so any assault on King's Landing risked cataclysmic retribution from a resurgent Targaryen dynasty. Tywin bided his time, carefully presenting himself as the realm's dutiful protector. Within the city, Aerys II, the Mad King, erupted in fits of paranoid glee. His son had crushed the rebellion's figurehead, yet his mood swings remained unpredictable. He still held an obsession with wildfire, urging his pyromancers to stand ready. The ironies of war blossomed inside the Red Keep. Queen Elia Martell, who in another life would have been a victim of the sack, lived under Targaryen banners, raising her two children, Aegon and Rhaenys, in a city that had not known the horrors of siege. Meanwhile, Jaime Lannister, the youngest Kingsguard knight, watched his king with wary eyes. His father might have sacked the city if Rhaegar had died, but that chance was gone. Jaime sensed the tension in each court corridor. Aerys's madness was not undone by a single victory. It merely had fresh fuel.
My son is unstoppable. Let all who rose against me burn. Burn in the fires of their own folly.
Jaime said nothing, but recalled the quiet rumors of Aerys's hidden caches of wildfire. A single spark could doom thousands. Far from the flight across the sea in canonic events, Viserys Targaryen and his mother, Queen Rhaella, remained in the Red Keep. There was no urgent need to hide them away at Dragonstone. Although Rhaella still struggled with precarious health, she was spared the rigors of exile. In time, she birthed Daenerys Targaryen under the shadow of the Iron Throne itself, not amid the storms of Dragonstone. Viserys, free from a life of begging across Essos, retained arrogance but lacked the bitterness of exile. Daenerys grew up in the Red Keep's nursery, a princess of Westeros rather than a would-be conqueror beyond the narrow sea. For the Targaryen line, life was undeniably changed by Rhaegar's success. The rebellion's driving force was shattered. Stannis Baratheon, now the sole surviving Baratheon brother of note, retreated to Storm's End. Their youngest brother, Renly, was still a child, overshadowed by tragedy. Stannis, grim, lawful, and overshadowed by Robert in the main timeline, felt conflicted. The war had broken House Baratheon's might. Stannis saw no further path but to submit to Targaryen rule. He had sworn fealty to the crown when younger, and though Robert had led them into rebellion, the law demanded an end to defiance.
The rightful king still sits the Iron Throne. Our duty is clear.
For Eddard Stark and Jon Arryn, duty warred with grief. They despised Aerys, recalling how he murdered Brandon and Rickard Stark. Now Robert lay dead, and Lyanna's fate was still uncertain. Ned's mind boiled with sorrow and unresolved rage. Haunted by rumors, Ned Stark rode south. The war was lost, but he would not abandon Lyanna. He discovered that Rhaegar had stationed Sir Arthur Dayne, Sir Gerald Hightower Sir, and Oswell Went at the Tower of Joy. Unlike the canonical version, Rhaegar himself travelled there in the aftermath of the Trident, drawn by concern for Lyanna's condition. Within those lonely stone walls, Lyanna Stark lay dying in childbed. She had been Rhaegar's secret wife for months. Their union, she insisted, was a matter of love and prophecy. Rhaegar wept at her bedside, guilt twisting his features.
You destroyed my family's honor. My father, my brother, and Robert all died in the name of your so-called abduction.
If I had known it would come to this, the realm is on a knife's edge. I loved your sister Stark, but my father's madness and Robert's rage, gods have mercy.
Lyanna's weak voice cut through the tension. She held a newborn son, tiny and wailing, Targaryen silver in his wisps of hair, but a Stark's grey hue in his eyes.
Ned, promise me. Watch over my child. Promise me for the realm's sake.
A final breath rattled in her throat. She had christened him Demon in old Valyrian style. As Lyanna died, Ned stood torn between hatred and sorrow, seeing Rhaegar cradling a babe that might unite or destroy two houses. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you like this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 93% of you watch the videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, is it done? Great. Thank you so much. Despair seeped into Rhaegar's soul. Though he had won on the battlefield, he had lost far more in the process. His father's madness had ignited the rebellion that cost thousands of lives, including Robert's and Lyanna's. He realized the realm would never find peace under a monarch as unstable as Aerys.
Help me depose him. My father is beyond saving. I should have acted sooner, but prophecy, duty, fear, they shackled me. Now, we can end this.
You want me to betray my vow to the crown? What vow was kept to my father and brother? To Robert, to Lyanna?
Yet he recalled Lyanna's last words. She had asked him to protect the child and the realm. Could Ned truly protect this child if Aerys remained enthroned, thirsting for vengeance? Reluctantly, he agreed. Secrecy was paramount. Jon Arryn and other rebels had survived the war, but they would not trust a Targaryen easily unless he acted decisively against the Mad King. Rhaegar found a necessary ally in Tywin Lannister, who privately loathed Aerys after years of insult. By forging an understanding with Tywin, Rhaegar arranged the means for a bloodless coup, or as close to bloodless as possible. Late one night, palace guards loyal to Rhaegar arrested the royal pyromancers. The Kingsguard, those who revered the Dragon Prince more than the unhinged king, turned on Aerys's final protectors. Jaime Lannister stood aside, uncertain but sensing that his father had tacitly approved. Aerys was dragged from the throne, shrieking. He hurled curses at Rhaegar, spitting that the realm would burn. But there would be no mass immolation. The hidden wildfire never met a spark. Aerys II was confined within Maegor's holdfast, raving. By the year's end, Rhaegar Targaryen was crowned king in a formal ceremony at the Great Sept of Baelor. Queen Elia Martell stood by his side, her children Aegon and Rhaenys gazing with wide eyes. For the rebels, there were pardons, though acceptance ranged from grudging to grateful. Ned Stark returned to Winterfell, carrying the memory of Lyanna's final words and the burden of seeing a Targaryen on the throne. Royal alliances and marriage contracts. With Rhaegar crowned, the realm demanded stability. Stubborn wounds still bled, particularly in the north and the Riverlands, where the memories of Rickard, Brandon, and Robert Baratheon would not fade. Rhaegar recognized that alliances must be forged by marriage and policy, weaving a broader tapestry of unity. 1. Princess Rhaenys Targaryen and Robb Stark. Rhaegar's eldest daughter, part Martell, part Targaryen, was betrothed to Robb Stark, the heir of Winterfell. Though both were young, a future union would seal a bond meant to heal the bitterness of Ned Stark's losses. The North's loyalty, so battered by tragedy, might soften if a Targaryen princess stood to be its future lady. Second Prince Aegon Targaryen and Margaery Tyrell. The Reach had rallied to Rhaegar's cause. House Tyrell reaped benefits from being on the winning side, and they possessed the finest farmland in Westeros. Aegon, the Crown Prince, would wed Margaery Tyrell in a few years, ensuring the Crown's breadbasket remained firmly supportive of the new regime. Third, Prince Daemon Targaryen, Lyanna's son, and Arianne Martell. Dorne's loyalty hinged on Elia Martell's standing as queen. To further knit that tie, Rhaegar designated Daemon, his newly acknowledged son by Lyanna, to wed Arianne Martell someday. This was symbolic, the child of ice and fire uniting with Dornish blood, bridging the complicated lines of Martell and Stark. 4. Princess Daenerys Targaryen. A babe in the cradle, Daenerys remained an unwed princess. Options for her betrothal teemed within the Seven Kingdoms, though Rhaegar hesitated to finalize her path. Some whispered she might one day wed Daemon, forging a pure Targaryen line. But such talk ignited gossip about incest and triggered murmurs of the old ways. Though King Rhaegar offered pardons, the North's grief ran deep. Eddard Stark had lost father, brother, and best friend in the war. Ned's sister died bearing Rhaegar's child, a reminder that duty and love can clash with devastating results. Ned kept secret the boy's parentage at first, but Rhaegar insisted on formally recognizing Daemon.
He is half Stark, half Targaryen. My sister's son, I promised her. But I cannot forget that it was Rhaegar's pursuit of prophecy that lit this flame. Robert, he died for nothing, Cat.
Catelyn Tully, caught between empathy and resentment, realized that their house's future now wove into Targaryen alliances. She took some comfort that Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon would at least know a realm at peace, provided no new storms arose. In hushed corners, some northern lords grumbled that a dragon cannot truly be part wolf. A minority clung to rebellious dreams, yet war fatigue silenced most calls to arms. Queen Elia Martell bore her own burdens. Rhaegar's secret marriage to Lyanna Stark had been an affront to Elia's honor, though the official stance painted it as annulled or overshadowed by prophecy. The Queen endured these slights for the sake of her children, never forgetting how close they came to ruin in a timeline we know. Still, she smiled at court, oversaw charitable works, and tried to foster a sense of unity among the ladies of the realm. She stood beside Rhaegar for public appearances, a dutiful queen. Yet behind closed doors, it was no secret she regarded the memory of Lyanna with quiet bitterness.
I must endure, dear brother, for Rhaenys and Aegon, for all of Dorne.
And Oberyn, famed for his hot Dornish temper, seethed at the slight done to his sister, anger that might never fully cool. Aerys II, once king of the Seven Kingdoms, now languished in a locked chamber within Maegor's holdfast. Some days, He shrieked at unseen enemies. Other times, he mumbled contrite nonsense as though lost in regrets. Rhaegar refused to sanction outright execution, wishing to avoid kinslaying. Jaime Lannister remained a Kingsguard knight, sworn to protect the royal family. Yet now, his oath demanded he serve King Rhaegar, not King Aerys. Jaime's father, Tywin, privately approved of the outcome. He had never wanted Jaime to sully his name by killing a Targaryen. Still, a part of Jaime felt uneasy. The man he'd guarded had become a prisoner. If Aerys's madness ever drove him to attempt an escape or do harm, would Jaime stand aside? No Kingslayer had arisen here, but the tension was not so different from canon, simply postponed. In Summerhall's old ruins, a small gathering marked the naming ceremony of Daemon Targaryen, the boy who carried Stark and Targaryen blood. Rhaegar's second son would never be king ahead of Aegon, but he bore significance. The realm dubbed him the Child of the Trident, for his birth tied to the conflict that ended on those riverbanks. His hair was dark with silver streaks. His eyes held a grey that could appear lilac in certain light. Courtiers whispered that he was the living embodiment of ice and fire, fulfilling or twisting some ancient prophecy. The faith looked on with caution, uncertain how to interpret such rumours.
We will need you, my boy. We will need all our strength in the days to come.
Though many lords believed the realm's greatest danger had passed with the end of rebellion, King Rhaegar studied ancient scrolls. He learned of the others, the White Walkers, and the prophecy of a hero reborn. He sent ravens to the Night's Watch, encouraging them to expand patrols, offering gold to rebuild crumbling keeps along the wall. Many found it foolish. Why worry over children's stories? But the Black Brothers' letters told of stray sightings in the haunted forests, pale figures glimpsed at dusk, dead men walking among silent snowdrifts. The North reported heavier storms than usual. Eddard Stark, though reluctant, supported measures to reinforce Castle Black and Eastwatch. Yet the Southern Lords, still nursing war debts, balked.
Your Grace, talk of ice demons stirs panic. The realm is exhausted. Should we not focus on harvest yields and tax relief?
Winter threatens more than an empty granary, Lord Tyrell.
Still, gold had to be carefully budgeted. The era of open war was over, but a new challenge arose, balancing the royal treasury between immediate needs, roads, reconstruction, and the unseen threat in the far north. At Storm's End, Stannis rarely left his keep. He was now head of House Baratheon. Renly was but a child. Men called Stannis cold, unyielding, and overshadowed by the memory of his flamboyant brother. But Stannis had been reared to respect lawful authority. His older sibling had died rebelling against the throne, and while Stannis once believed that cause just, he now saw no logic in continuing a lost fight.
Robert is gone. The realm kneels to Rhaegar. We have no cause to rise again. Yet do you not mourn your brother? I do, but mourning is not rebellion. The law stands.
Thus House Baratheon, battered and subdued, accepted Targaryen rule once more. Meanwhile, Storm's End's grand fortress overshadowed the rolling seas, a reminder that seeds of future conflict can sprout in the least expected places. In the years that followed, a fragile calm settled. King Rhaegar's court demanded alliances, forging a tapestry of grudging acceptance. Jon Arryn pledged the Vale's loyalty, though sorrow lingered in his heart for the student he once fostered, Robert, whose laughter was now silent. The Riverlands, under House Tully, balanced between compliance and regret. Walder Frey bragged about how swiftly he bent the knee after the Trident, securing Targaryen favor for the twins. Tywin Lannister, holding the West, posed no immediate threat to the throne. His ambitions remained, but he found King Rhaegar more open to counsel than Aerys ever was. The old grudges simmered, but no open strife broke. The small folk saw roads cleared of bandits, fields regaining stability. Harvest festivals resumed, albeit subdued. Rhaegar Targaryen often performed music at court, haunting songs on his silver-stringed harp. Some wondered if he poured regret for Lyanna, Robert, and the thousands dead into those gentle chords. Within the Red Keep, the children of House Targaryen flourished. Viserys spared the bitterness of exile, grew proud, eager for power and fine things. He considered himself next in line after Aegon, ignoring the reality that Rhaegar had multiple heirs and the realm might not welcome his rule. Meanwhile, Daenerys, nicknamed Dany by her caretakers, played in the courtyard with Rhaenys and Aegon, more curious about the world than fearful of it.
I am a dragon, good knight. One day I shall have my own kingdom, perhaps across the sea.
Sir Barristan only bowed, saying nothing to discourage the young princeling's illusions. A father's victory did not always guarantee the children's unity. The king, who had ended the rebellion, Rhaegar, could not halt every subtle rivalry. The Iron Islands eyed independence. Dorne, though Queen Elia's homeland, resented the hush surrounding Rhaegar's second marriage. House Martell displayed outward loyalty, but Oberyn's scowl hinted at old slights. The Faith of the Seven, quietly unsettled, questioned the Targaryen tradition of cousin marriages, possible incest, or rumoured black magic. Meanwhile, the North remembered old gods and old grudges. Even with Rhaenys promised to Robb Stark, many a northern house felt the ghosts of that war. Brandon, Rickard, Robert, all gone. Bards sang conflicting ballads about Robert's last stand, some romanticising him as the fallen hero, others praising Rhaegar as the rightful champion. Reports from the Wall increasingly troubled those who paid attention. Rangers vanished into the frosty forests, and rumours spread of corpses with blue eyes prowling under the moon. Eddard Stark visited Castle Black once, speaking with Lord Commander Jeor Mormont, leaving visibly distressed. King Rhaegar recognised the need for new fortifications and the potential importance of dragonglass, but the Royal Council was preoccupied with internal conflicts, such as securing House Greyjoy's loyalty and managing restless second sons in the Westerlands. These immediate concerns overshadowed the distant northern threat. Despite this, King Rhaegar often studied ancient prophecies in the Red Keep, convinced that a greater war loomed against an enemy that couldn't be defeated by gold or cunning alone. Years after the Trident, Robert Baratheon's death resonated quietly across the realm. Official histories celebrated the Battle of Demon's Ford as the dragon's victory over the Stag. Opinions were divided. Some believed Robert's victory could have ended the Mad King's tyranny sooner, while others felt Rhaegar's win prevented Tywin's sack, saving many lives. In the Red Keep's highest tower, King Rhaegar reminisced about Lyanna's final moments and prophetic silences with his silver harp. Meanwhile, Eddard Stark remained solemn at Winterfell's Godswood, honouring Robert's memory and Lyanna's vow by raising Daemon Targaryen, a child bridging north and south amid uncertainty. Queen Elia Martell managed her duties gracefully within House Targaryen's complexities. She loved her children, tolerated Rhaegar's second family, and maintained stability in Dorne, all while an unspoken tension regarding Lyanna lingered in the palace. At Dragonstone's painted table, Rhaegar once planned rebellions and studied ancient prophecies. Maps beyond the narrow sea hinted at greater threats than the northern dangers. Bards began to sing of a second long night, with white shadows stirring beyond the wall. If the White Walkers truly marched, would fragile alliances hold? Or would old grudges and rivalries tear Westeros apart before darkness arrived? The Dragon Prince had proven his war prowess, but fighting the dead would challenge them more than battling the living. If you'd like to see how this tale continues, please like, share, and subscribe now. Let's aim for 700 likes. Valar Morghulis.